In this presentation, we are going to be covering soil identification, the whats, the hows, the wheres, and the whys. First of all, why is soil identification important? Obviously, there are many different types of soil, and they do have varying properties which impact the turf's growth and the playability within sports turf. Soil identification helps determine the appropriate maintenance practices, irrigation, and fertilization requirements of that particular surface. These can change drastically depending on the type of soil you have on site. So the three main common types of soil, we have sandy soils, clay soils, and loam soils. First of all, sandy soils have a granular texture, very low water holding capacity, and great drainage, but poor nutrient retention. Clay soils have fine particles, heavy textures, poor drainage, and high water holding capacities. Now, they are very nutrient rich, so you may see a much darker colour or tone in clay soils. Now, loamy soils are the main third type. These are the ideal soil type with a balance of sand, silt, and clay. These will have relatively good drainage depending on what end of the scale they are on, and the water holding capacity is pretty decent and has good nutrient retention. Now, this table shows us a bit more about soil texture. And as I mentioned before, the three types of soil which are usually used for sports turf or turf in general are clay, sand, and loam. Here we can see silt on the edge of the triangle as well. So we tend to pretty much stay along that left-hand side of the scale there, particularly more towards the loamy, sandy, loamy soils, whereas the clay is usually not a preferred sort of growing medium for turf. So soil textures refer to the relative properties of sand, silt, and clay within the soil, as I mentioned, and the texture affects the water infiltration, soil drainage, and the nutrient availability. As I mentioned, use this chart as a percentage makeup. So you know if you've got a certain amount of, you've got 10% sand, 90% clay, you're obviously quite a heavy clay soil. You can sort of work out where you are with that. Soil structure, this will vary massively depending on the level in the soil. Obviously, the top couple of inches are normally topsoil, then we go into sort of subsoils, and then below that we go into all sorts of messy soils with rocks and bed rocks, and it depends how far you go down, to be honest. Obviously, you can hit pans of clay and pans of stone and those sort of things. But soil structure basically refers to the arrangement of the soil particles into aggregates and clumps. Good soil structure promotes root growth, water movement, and aeration, and poor soil structure can lead to compaction, waterlogging, and restricted root development because those pores within the soil aren't there or they've been closed up, which we'll talk about in other different presentations. Soil pH, this is a big thing. Soil pH measures the acidity or alkalinity of the soil. pH influences the nutrients availability and microbial activity. Now, the optimum pH levels for most turfs is slightly acidic. It's around 6 to 7. And this is the perfect line, as you can see on the chart on the right, where most nutrients are available, which is why it's the preferred pH level for turf. Now, soil testing provides great detailed information about the soil's composition, the pH levels, the nutrients, and the organic matter content. Testing helps us make informed decisions regarding fertilization, pH adjustments, and soil amendments. We should encourage each other to perform soil testing regularly. It is a big part of maintenance and something that will help you make that surface better. The field evaluation techniques consist of visual examinations, so this can be assessing the colour of the soil, the texture, and the structure visually. Field tests, we can squeeze the soil to determine its texture and moisture content with our hands. A ribbon test is to squeeze a moist soil sample between our fingers to evaluate its cohesion and texture and how much moisture it will actually hold on to once compressed. And then finally, we can use within sports turf, particularly football, the PQS, which is the Performance Quality Standard Framework, which shows us exactly what we want to achieve from that pitch and how we can do it.